So good morning, my merry band of misfits. How are we doing today? Today, I am interviewing the wonderful Steve Tempest from the Mortgage Advice Bureau in Hinckley. And I am super, super excited to be interviewing him because I've known him for how many years now? Should we tell them? Would that just like give away our ages too much?
No, that's 7 or 8 years, 7, 8, 9 years, easy.
I was gonna say, yeah, it's got to be. I think it's coming on to 9 years now. And we met at the wonderful Hinckley BNI, which is now called, is it Business Connect now?
Business Connect, yeah.
Yes, and Steve was my very first mentor. He took me under his wing and I know so much about business from him. So thank you very much. And thank you for agreeing to come on today and chat to me and do my little video interview podcast style thing.
No, it's a pleasure. As you mentioned, we've known each other quite a while. There is a connection between us in terms of the geekiness. So outside of this quite professional exterior, there is an inner geek, and that's where we connected. So no, I love you, Kelly. You know that. So yeah, it's nice to come on.
Yes, and I thought it'd just be really interesting for people to know where you've come from and to know a little bit about your business life story and where you started and where you ended up, because yes, we did bond over being very geeky, and I was so relieved because, like, you might not be able to tell because he's sitting down, but Steve is rather a lot taller than me. I'd say there's probably a foot difference in height between us. And so when we first met, I was rather intimidated, but it was quite like that. He soon showed me his inner geek and we totally bonded, and HTML and PHP were then we just bored everyone, didn't we, really? Like, you loved my presentation.
If you want to make Kelly smile, just mention PHP.
But yes, I remember you were the only one that paid attention to my 10 minutes. Everyone else just was bored. Steve's like, keep going, and all my silly IP jokes. And
I think it's that question that was asked, which was, so how long have you spent looking for a semicolon?
And everyone was like, what?
And everybody goes, what?
To me, I do that daily. So not daily, I'm not a terrible coder. but yeah, and you were the only one that smiled. And I quickly realized, and I did a talk last week, I quickly realized that people perhaps aren't as interested as me and you are in code, and so now I try and be a little bit more interesting than just I love what I do, and I do, but other people are not interested.
Some people drop that subject for a reason at school, and just let's let them be. There's a whole world of magic that they've no idea about.
If they don't get it, they don't get it. But to me and you, it is magic, and I love it. I do. So is that where you learn all about coding?
No. So obviously, as we haven't pointed out yet, there's a significant age difference between us, as well as a height difference. Probably similar ratio, to be honest. So yeah, they didn't do computer studies as much at school. Yes, we did have BBC Micros, and we had 4 of them. That was the sum total of the number of PCs that the school had at the time. But I came into software engineering from a degree that I was doing at Sheffield University. There was a small element, about this much of the course was on C programming, C++. And it was the piece of the course that I got 100% in. A career was born from that. So everything else I was mediocre at, but that I managed to get 100% on.
Wow.
And that's where it comes from.
And how did you come from coding to mortgage advice? How did that transition happen?
So I jokingly say about my software career is I used to earn money then. As a business owner, you spend your life hoping you're going to earn money. Yeah. And like sacrificing this year for next year, which is probably not something we'll come on to later. But yeah, as a software engineer, I I wrote some decent code and some stuff that most people have used, and I got paid a nice salary, and I had extra money at that point, and I started buying property. And from buying property, I bought another one and so on, and built up a portfolio. And my mortgage advisor, knowing what I did in life, he was a pen and paper and a calculator guy. And mortgages and financial arrangements, etc., were going internety, yeah. And he said, you know all about these things, and you know about properties. You'd be really good as an advisor, you would, because he was pointing to a screen and going, "It's all going that way," you know. And I sort of dismissed him. Yeah, not really. And then he said it again about a year later, and I thought, well, I'll buy the financial services books, and I like going through some exams now and again, and I thought I'll do the exams, and I actually flew through those really well, because I was always legally aware, I was always financially aware. I'd bought and sold houses by that point, and yeah, the exams were sort of a dream, really. So a different career was born, and essentially I was sort of getting tired of doing the software. The problem being a software engineer, there's always young kids like Kelly coming up who are, you know, au fait with the current stuff. They don't have a lot of the space in their head occupied by the old stuff. Yeah. So they've just got the new stuff to concentrate on. And as a older programmer, and I considered myself an older programmer at 30. Yeah,
I'm getting there myself.
I was hesitant on saying it because I knew I was.
I mean, yes, I've taken on a newbie because just for that reason, because you do get to a point where you don't max out, but it's a constant learning cycle, and you do get stuck in your old ways, don't you?
Yeah, and of course, as a programmer, you then age with the software you wrote. So you get, when you first join as a programmer, you're given the new project, the new point of sale was what I was put on. But then what happened in my career is that point of sale became the older point of sale, and I became the older programmer. And then the new programmers that joined us were given the new point of sale to work on. Yeah. And I was kept as the support for the legacy equipment. So yes, you do have this really defined aging process as a software engineer, more so than in almost in any other career, I think.
Yeah.
For that way. So I just wanted to put my earning power into my own hands, and I do it graphically with my own hands. In that, I used these hands to help someone else earn a lot of money. You know, the system I wrote, which was used by Texaco, they rented that system for a lot of money, and I know what I got paid, and it was barely even a month's worth of the cost of that thing. So yeah, listened to my mortgage advisor, I took the exams, and I set out. 2007 I first started doing mortgages, and that was a year before the massive financial crash. Now there's a challenge when your income goes off. You know, I'd sort of almost, much to Maxine's annoyance, my wife, I'd almost thrown my old bit away, focusing on this new thing, and all of a sudden, mortgages are not fashionable anymore.
Yeah.
And wow. But what I learned was having something that you don't need your two hands to get the income for. So that's referred to as passive versus active income. The money kept coming in from the properties, and I didn't have to do it. Yes, there's things to fix in the properties, but it just kept coming in, and it saved us financially. It saved us. So that's why in my own business then, I'm more passionate. You see me come alive when I start to talk about the buy-to-let side of life. as opposed to the residential side of life. Not that I think the residential side of life is boring, not at all, but I do think the buy-to-let side of life can change lives enormously. And that's where the new career was born. And I think we've made a good job of it. We've done all right.
You have, Steve, and I love that. I love that you have such a big why in your business, because there's so many people out there that don't have that big why that you've got. You love making people passive income. You love teaching them. Like, I know that you will sit down with anybody and have that conversation about how it works. You'll happily welcome anyone in. It's not like there's a mystery to it for you. You're like an open book, and I love that. I love all the advice that you've always given me. Yeah, you know I love you, and I think you do really great work. And I think the testimony is that how many mortgage advisors that you've got working for you, and I hear that you've just taken a new one on.
Yeah, so we grew the team to 4, including me. The ultimate goal is not to include me. I think if you remember anything about me, I'm hoping it is that I have the shortest business plan ever.
Yes.
My business plan is put in a single sentence. Front desk, second desk, third desk, top desk, out. And in that, there's a whole myriad of things need to happen, but that's always been in my mind. So, and also it's a thing that, when you get networking, you meet, some great business coaches. And so, yeah, I do have to give a massive shout out to Mark Jennings, who's an action coach, because he introduced me to, proper business coaching. And I met Brad Sugars, and I remember a sentence that Brad Sugars said, which is, a business is not a business until you're not in it. Because until that time, it's called a job. And who wants to buy a job? No one. Who wants to buy a business? Lots of people.
I think you having a vision for your business and knowing, and me knowing what it was, and you always sticking to it, it's always been the same. You know what you want to do with your business. It's always been a big inspiration to me, because I started my business because no one wanted to employ me because of my seizures, and I didn't just want to sit around for the rest of my life. So I kind of fell into it, and I found something I loved, and I built a business around it, but I never had like a plan, not like you did. And then when we met, I was like, wow, okay, this can be something. This can actually go somewhere, and I can actually, make this work for me and my family. And, now I'm in the really privileged position that Chris quit his job. My husband quit his job last year, and he looks after Jeffrey, my son, full time. And, it all from my business, and really from your business plan, because I hadn't got a clue.
Yeah, it's a funny thing. It's a funny thing, as we go through, there's a couple of people who sidled up to me and said, yeah, but you've really inspired me. And I think, no, all I've done is I've listened to a lot of other people, and I've reenacted some of the things that they have done, or I've listened to a sentence, I've absorbed it and taken action upon it. All I've done is done stuff. But equally, it's so nice, because I've obviously been one of those characters in somebody else's life where they've gone, I've learned from them, but I'm very much a self-deprecating individual.
You are.
Where I'm just there at the same time. You're the one that's taken action, and listened.
Yeah, but you're the one that absorbed the knowledge in the first place for me to even know that it existed. So yeah. So whilst no man's an island, we're all inspired by other people, and hopefully we all inspire others, so you're definitely one of those people for me. So thank you.
The phrase I have on that one is stones make waves. And all over the place, if you imagine the whole world is a lake, there's little stones, and all of the ripples that we have as individuals sort of interfere with everybody else's. So something I do over here is going to affect you over there, even though you don't really know it. Yeah, I love that concept of life. And yes, if I have affected you in a positive way, magic. And I'm really sorry to those people that I might have affected in a negative way.
I can't imagine there's many. You know, you're not that, you know, controversial. You're quite a lovely chap, really. Even if you do like to heckle at times. We'll get to that later.
Guilty.
So I have a couple of questions that I like to ask people, and one of the biggies is, what's the most life-changing existential crisis that you've ever had? So what's the big thing that you ponder? If you were a philosopher and you had to study one thing about our universe, what would it be?
Yeah, so when you mentioned this as a question, I'm thinking, what the heck do I say? I think for me, this I've already sort of alluded to, which is the stones make waves, essentially, and that we all go about our lives affecting others, and our influences on those others influences what they go on then to do. It's also described as the butterfly effect, isn't it?
Yes, definitely.
And is it possible for a butterfly to flap its wings in Japan and cause a tsunami over Europe? You know, is it that possible? So that would be my thing, is, you know, if I could sit on a rock somewhere and go for 17 days, that probably would be the thing I would ponder. Are we actually in control of everything we're doing ourselves, or are we just like an electron particle getting bounce, hit, and therefore ejecting? You know, is our trajectory being affected in that way?
Wow.
And if I'd like to pose an answer, I suspect it's the latter.
So you think that we are choosing?
Sorry, forgive me. No, I think we are being, like the stones make waves things, being affected by little things all over the place, and it is bouncing our trajectory. I think we don't necessarily have a full choice in where we get.
Brilliant. I like that. And I was telling Steve that one of my big ponderances at the minute is, are we living in a simulation? Is what we experience part of something that's been created for us? So like we're creating AI now, is our universe part of something that's already happened and already been created, and we're almost as such in their computer as such? That's a terrible explanation, but it's one of the new it's one of the new ideas. No, I can't say it, Steve. Thank you. One of the new philosophies that's come out recently. And I've been really pondering, are we in a simulation? Is there something that created us, like we create the Sims, like we create, but, you know, on a much more complex, much more biochemical level than the Sims, but that just as an example.
Yeah, and I, as I mentioned to you before, and anybody who's watching this, if you're still here, hello. Sorry, this is geek talk. I'm afraid there is a series called The Year Million, and I think it might be on BBC iPlayer. I think it might be, but look up The Year Million, and it's all about the concept of how. Essentially, it's looking at humans, of course, that's what we know, but essentially it could apply to any alien race whatsoever. Is we get so far in technology that we discover we can modify our own bodies, we can replace parts of our bodies with electronic parts. So we've already become a bit of a hybrid, yeah, between synthetic and what's the other word? Actual human body. Yeah. There's a word for it, but I'm not clever enough to think of it. And if you fast forward that, mapping the human brain will become possible. We certainly have hard disks capable of creating almost the number of connections we have in our brain. So society's evolved through technology, and this is the reason why I think we've never been visited by an alien civilization, because they all get to the point where they realize traveling, there's no point.
Yeah.
Because essentially we get to the point where we've replaced everything and we are simply an element on a hard disk somewhere. And if we want to recreate from here to the other side of the galaxy, your body won't last long enough to send yourself there. So in actual fact, you may as well make it look like you've gone there on a hard disk.
Yeah.
And you can experience it all the same, and we will not know what is real, and we'll not know what isn't real. And so therefore, if that's the case, are we already there?
What version of us are we then, if that's the case? If we, Steve, I love it. I've got another one to ponder. Thank you. And I should
okay.
look up
that. It was a lengthy one. Sorry, but yeah.
No, I love it. I love it. So on to the next question. So let's do something that's not quite, well, maybe it will be geeky. I don't know. My next question was, what is the one thing that you love most about yourself? What is it that when you're on your own with yourself and you're thinking about who you are, that you're like, yeah, I'm so glad that I'm like that, you know, that really helps me in life. What's your Steveism? What could Kelly do to be more like Steve?
I think I'm gonna say it in two. It's both a positive and a negative.
As everything is in life.
Yin and yang, isn't it? So Steve is very focused. So Steve can fixate, and that might sound like a slightly negative word, but fixation is imagination and it's drive, and I will go and get that thing over there. If you think of various things that I've done in life, they have required pure, almost like selfish focus sometimes. And if you ask some of the people around me, they would probably agree. Is you have to be a little selfish if you are focused and you have a certain thing you want to get to. And of course, very positive in that I've been able to achieve those things, but equally it can have a negative effect on me. I do fixate and I do focus, and on situations that other people would go, I fixate on them and focus on them and analyze them and study them and work out why I can't make them better. Yeah.
Yes, totally get that.
So consequently, certain little things that somebody might think are completely insignificant to somebody who fixates and focuses actually is quite problematic. Yet they don't give it a thought at all. And it's just, so yes, that does. So positive is focus, negative is focus. I'm sorry.
And I think because of my exuberant personality, I think a lot of people think that I'm quite a flighty person, and so they're very confused that I do web design, because coding is a very, very analytical thing to do, a very focused thing to do. And I totally get that. I get that I can fixate and focus, and if anyone's seen those pictures of me trampolining with the ribbons, that was totally a fixation of mine. I wanted that photo, that there was a vision that I wanted, and to actually get that to happen, there was a lot of steps involved. You know, I had to have a photographer, a makeup artist, my costume had to be done, I had to hire the hall and the trampolines, and everyone was like, why are you doing this? This makes no sense. Like, but I knew I wanted that photo. That photo was just gonna be wonderful. And it was. And now it sparked so many more projects and things to do from being creative. And that's what I love about focus. And I think you have that too. Focus can be so creative, and people think it's so narrow, but it's not, is it? It can be so passionate and so creative. And I love that about you, that you have that, you're going to do it and you're going to go there. Like with the wolf run, you were going to do that no matter what. You were focused and you were dedicated to do that wolf run. And I've got to say, you weren't particularly known for being sporty at that point. I know things are different now. I know you're a changed person through lockdown. I saw everything you did in lockdown and you're a changed man. But before then, you weren't particularly known for your sporting prowess, shall we say. So we were all a bit like, oh, okay, Steve, go for it. Okay. But you did, you went for it.
Yeah, it's again, it comes to the focus thing. To make a change for me, I need to have to focus on something.
Yeah.
So I had recognized that I'm getting older and need to keep this body working. And therefore I need the spectre of the wolf run to make sure, sorry audience, to make sure that I actually do the training. Yeah, I have to have that spectre of the wall. It was, because that was all I was worried about, was the wall.
That wall.
And that's towards the end as well, when your legs are cramped after coming out of the water. I need that to make sure I do stuff. Whereas actually now, I think if you look at the most recent stuff I've done, which is the Joe Wicks and Heather Robertson stuff, that is just me. I've got no, that was just me in a garage, or me in the extension, wasn't it? Just doing that. But then again, I had a focus. I wanted to be able to post the day I'd done 50 in a row. Now, there's one thing about focusing on posting that you've done 50 days in a row, and that is you have to do the other 49.
Yeah.
Yeah? Otherwise it doesn't sort of work. People go, you liar, you didn't. So how many people have turned off through how many people put me on mute during that period where every morning there's a sweaty, horrible picture of me on 37? Yeah,
definitely not. No, definitely not. We were all so proud of you, and still are. You know, you've really like recognized there was a problem and done something about it. It's great. We're all really inspired by you. I mean, I feel the same way about my trampolining competitions. Like, people say to me, like the last one I did, I said I was 15 years older than the other competitors, but I wasn't. I was more like 20.
I did laugh that you're about 6 inches shorter than most of them.
You know, that leotard, there was so much controversy over that leotard, because the adult sizes start at size 36, and it's about the length of your body, like the length, how and well, let's just say I'm in a size 30.
Oh,
with the 8-year-olds though, like, I'm going to write to this leotard company and say it's not right. You know, I know most women moan the other way, but they're all laughing at me, Steve.
Oh no, but hey, you do well. You keep going. But
that I like doing the competitions because it means my training means something, you know, and that means I keep going. And even though I love it, you know, it's hard, you know, keep going every week. I've got a toddler and a business to run, but you know, I love the kids and I love coaching, and the trampolining competitions are just like the sparkle on top. And
so I'm going to ask you a question. So in the trampolining, is it because Kelly likes that moment where, you know, there's that transition moment where you're up in the air? I have experienced. No, I broke my leg.
No. You couldn't get on the trampoline, could you?
There must be that wonderful transition moment where you're going up and just before you come down, where you're.
Yeah.
Is that the moment you love?
What I actually love about it is that it scares me to death. That I am scared of it, but I will still get on there and still do it and still try, and it challenges me, and I've always loved that. And there's always been an element of fear for me, and pushing past that, that's what I love. I love feeling that I've accomplished something. That moment that you feel is really exaggerated when you do a move called a 1 and 3, which is my favorite move. So it's, you do a somersault, and as you're coming out the top of the somersault, you break out and you make like a flat shape and you like float all the way around. There's a 3/4 somersault, which is the same thing but without the somersault on the front. But once you add that somersault on, it gives you that extra bit of power, so that when you come out, you actually feel like you're floating, and that's my favorite thing to do. And I used to scare everyone because I'd always wait really long before ducking under, so much so that my head would scrape the trampoline. Because like, you get the best back landing and you can do the best move out of it. But yeah, like if I didn't feel my bun hit the trampoline, I'd duck too soon. So and everyone's like, no.
Okay.
But yeah, so I like things that challenge me, I think, and I didn't quite realize how much I like things that challenge me, because coding is, you know, changes all the time. You know, there's new things to learn. Google changes things. It's only just become quite recently that I've realized how much I love a challenge. When someone said, oh, I'm moving house, and I was like, oh, that sounds like fun. And they went, what? It was like, oh, lists and label makers and spreadsheets. And they were like, you're crazy. But I think you're in that camp with me, aren't you, Steve? I think you like a bit of a label maker and a list.
Oh, absolutely. And yeah, Organization, control. I'm more control. I think the list. I do sort of write lists. I've got one in my book here. So yeah, control, organization, and control.
And do you have a passion, like I have a passion for trampolining, outside of work, outside of family, that's just you, that you just love? Is there something that you, if I was to say, you don't have to work anymore, Steve, what are you going to do for the rest of your life? What would it be?
So that I've thought about, and various different things. I like the moment where you've pitched your caravan and you're in a field somewhere. And I like the fact that it could be a field 15 minutes down the road, or it could be a field 5 hours, 15 minutes down the road. And you just have that wonderful moment where the awning's up. The awnings, by the way, are called divorce in a bag.
Oh.
Yeah. The nickname in caravanners terms for an awning is divorce in a bag, because the number of people that fall out while putting up an awning.
Oh,
yeah?
Is it difficult?
Some of them can be, but we've got a nice easy one. You just blow it up. It just goes. It's fine. I just use that first. So yeah, you've done all that. You've just got set up and you sit down. It's like your moment in the air. Yeah, very similar to your moment in the air where you've done your 3/4, and you just sit. That I like, but you know what? Recently, I like the midpoint. Oddly, I like the midpoint through a hit video.
Okay, you crazy fool.
So what? So you asked what is it? A passion in life that I've got. It's really hard to put your shorts on. To put your shorts on and start. And there's a funny thing, where in the first, if you set out to do a 20-minute hit video, or if you set out to do a 1 hour, 20-minute hit video, you can do them both. In the first 10 minutes of any of them, your body's going, Steve, what the heck are you doing? And then there is that period after that where your body's going, well, actually, this is okay, we're going fine. And then because you set out to do a certain time, 10 minutes before the end, you start to feel absolutely shattered.
I never thought of it that way.
And whether, so if you set out to do a 30-minute one, there's going to be 10 minutes where you're going, what the heck am I doing? 10 minutes that you enjoy, and 10 minutes where you feel tired because the end is coming. Set off to do an hour, you've got 10, 40, and 10. Yeah. And I like the middle section of a hit video, because your body starts to get used to what it's doing, and you've got some time to do, and that's my, it's become a bit of a passion.
I like that, Steve. I'd never thought of it that way. Very good.
I hope it's not the same in life, where you first,
Well, let's hope that, your last 10 minutes are far off yet, Steve.
You don't know when we're in it.
I always like to end on a story. I like to think of a funny story, but it doesn't have to be a funny story. Any story will do. So at the end, I'm going to share a story about you, but I just thought I'd give you the opportunity. Is there any story of life that you'd like to share with us? Something, a little tidbit, or maybe just something a little bit funny?
Yeah, I guess we have hinted on it in the interview already. These things do come up in your life. Be careful what you choose to do. I am focused. I need something, and I do call the wolf run a spectre. Yeah. Now, a lot of people, those people that know me well, know that I have achieved 3.5 wolf runs. And I've done 3.5. And it's not because I gave up. I will let people know Steve doesn't give up. I think it was, because I do say to people, or I was saying to people before I did the half a one, somebody wished me good luck the day before, and I think it might have been my mum even, and I said to my mum, I said, yeah, you watch, this time tomorrow I'll be in A&E. Well, I was. and yeah, I was see, in the wolf run, as many people know, there's some serious obstacles in a wolf run. Yeah, as
And
you
which
get,
obstacle was it that did you in, Steve?
well, let's pause that one. Hold that thought. So during a wolf run, there are various things. There is the cold. There are bits where you have to swim through cold water, which is making your body cramp up, and so it is only 10 kilometers, but my God, it's 10 kilometers. And there are various points, probably around kilometer 6, kilometer 8, where your body's saying, what are you doing? Yeah. And there's obstacles, and some of them are easy, some of them are ridiculously hard. And there's a spectre of the wall at the end, which is about a 20-foot wall that you've got to get over. And you know, I think this then followed by a net, which is even worse because it's high and you can see through it, so you can see the ground. But yeah, I didn't make it. And it wasn't a fabulous obstacle that I accidentally fell off. I broke my leg on a flat bit, just running along. And I'm not going to describe it because it'll make everybody squeamish, but yeah, I got taken off on a golf buggy, and I have a picture on my phone actually, and it's quite sad because it's me in a hospital bed, and I think I've just realised the consequence of what I've done. In that, I decided to do this silly event. Look, it isn't silly, don't get me wrong, I'm not denigrating the wolf run, it's a great event to do, but you are told it's dangerous, and I can confirm it is dangerous. And yeah, I broke my ankle, or well, technically my leg, but right down at the bottom, which is my ankle. And I have a picture of myself in a hospital bed like this, and I look so sad.
You did.
Because I knew. It's funny, you know, when I was going down, after breaking it, I'm going down on the floor, I'm thinking things like, oh, that's not very good, and I'm not going to be able to drive home. Yeah, and your focus is that short. No, I had 4 months worth of trying to get back afterwards. So anyway, that's my story. Look, it is funny, and I do smile and I do laugh about it. I cringe. I have slight moments where I go like that about it because of what I heard and all that sort of stuff.
I mean, I remember you trying to convince me to do it with you, and I asked my trampolining coach, because at the time I was still a national trampolinist, and she was like, no, you can't do the wolf run, you've got nationals coming up. And I'm like, what do you mean? Steve says it's just like, you're just going to hop over some obstacle. She's like, no, you're not doing it, it's too dangerous. And I came and told you, and I swear, like, you wouldn't have been so rude as to call me a pussy, but like, you would really like, come on, Kelly, it's just. And then after you break your leg,
yeah,
oh, I was, bless you.
It's okay. We've done that, and I'm not going to do another one. I've got some friends who like doing them, and they're getting themselves back fit again, and they're suggesting they're going to do one, and I'm going like, think about it carefully.
Yes, yeah, definitely. But my funny story about you, Steve, doesn't involve any exercise. When we were in BNI together, we would do a 10 minutes. Everyone had to do one. And I think this must have been my first 10 minutes that I did. I was up there. I was ever so nervous. I'd never done this before, a room full of business people. I mean, I'd only been in business like a few months, really. And I'd got all my courage up. I'd got my pictures, my slides, you know, your PowerPoint. And I was talking about trampolining. And I clicked this slide over, and it was the latest competition that I did, because I always show the latest competition that I did. And it was me in a picture with 2 other lovely trampoline gymnasts. And I was rabbiting on, and who do I hear but, oh, those 2 girls are tall behind you there, Kelly, because there was a little, I think Evie was 7 at the time, and me and Liz behind her. And I'll put the picture on so you can all have a good laugh as well at my expense. But essentially, Steve was telling me that I looked like an 8-year-old. And I'd never been heckled before, ever. And I didn't know what to do. But what made me know what to do was Steve's face, because he realized what he'd done, that he'd literally, like, a new member of BNI, which I think you were like either the chairman or you were something at the time, the treasurer or something. And because you knew me so well, we'd made such a connection, you just heckled me. And everyone in the room was like, and I saw his face and he went white and he went, what have I done? And I was like, oh, Steve likes me, excellent. And so I just played off it and I just ribbed him forever and continue to still do so, because that was what you did, was you made the worst, like not the worst, but what I considered to be something terrible happening, you made me realize that it doesn't matter, you can still carry on, everyone survives, and you know, a presentation doesn't need to be ruined because someone joins in. Actually, now I actively ask for it. I love a good heckle.
I think you sort of need it. The groups aren't staid and formal and formal presentation. Humor is a massive bit of my life, and just saying that one thing that makes everybody laugh is a wonderful icebreaker, and I think that's what it was. But sometimes it's one of those moments where you do it, everybody laughed, and I'm thinking, oh, how did Kelly react to it?
Yeah.
I'm going to add in another funny little story if I can. So as part of BNI, we go to training, and I took Kelly to some training. We have to drive to Kettering, and at the time I had a young daughter, so we had picked up two other people that were in the back of the car. They knew what I was going to do. And before Kelly got into my car's quite large, okay, so I got the booster seat out and put it in the front seat and said, there you go, Kelly, I've put a booster seat in for you just so you can see above the dash. Yeah. Oh,
he does love to rib me, guys, but I love it. That was so funny, and we've had so much fun over the year, Steve. We really have. Whenever we go to do any kind of business event or anything like that, if I know you're going, I know that I'm going to have a good time. And you're the life and soul, you always are, and you're so open and honest, and I'm just really pleased that you're part of my life. So thank you very much for doing.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me for doing this. It's a pleasure. Talking about myself, I find it really difficult, but no, I enjoy it.
Yes, thank you. And if anyone's got any questions for Steve, please, I'm pretty sure that he'd be more than happy to chat to you. And if you need any mortgage advice, I will always recommend Steve, because, well, he's one of the best. He really, really is. And the best way that I can say testimony to that is that you do my mortgage, and if I'm not mistaken, it will be up in 6 months, so I'll be around for another remortgage.
Soon. I'm not sure I can save you quite the money that I saved you on the previous one, but yeah.
Honestly, if anyone's interested, come PM me. I'll tell you how much you saved me. I was like, what? It was amazing. I was so chuffed. But that was before this whole COVID stuff, wasn't it? So
right, thank you. That's been
thanks again, Steve. And thanks everyone for listening, and we'll see you all soon. Bye for now.